Many people believe that they have some sort of decent grasp of just how painful pain can be, just from observing it from a distance or experiencing their own subjective share of it. Many people conduct themselves as though they barely even believe that suffering exists outside of themselves. A large portion of the human population gives little to no thought of the suffering that takes place outside of their own tribe, the people they care about. And for practical purposes, this makes sense. It isn't healthy to spend too much time thinking about the vanity and futility of existence, how horrible life is for millions of people, and how dreadful life has the potential to be for themselves and for their children. But one of the glaring downsides to this lack of meaningful contemplation is seen in how little respect people seem to have for the potential consequences of reproduction. The pain that I've experienced in my life thus far is nothing in comparison to the worst of what life has to offer. My own understanding of suffering is severely lacking, and for this I am incredibly grateful. If it was possible for any single individual to have a complete and total comprehension of the suffering of the world, it would undoubtedly drive that person to complete madness. But even with my lackluster apprehension of suffering, it's still abundantly clear to me that life is not worth propagating. For me personally, the relatively minuscule amount of pain that I've endured in my life so far has been more physical rather than mental. Although physical and mental pain do tend to go hand in hand together and feed upon each other. And I must stress the words, so far, you and I have no idea of the horrors that await us in the future. The dying process, for example, is a horrifyingly repugnant and degrading process. For anyone who disagrees, I strongly urge you to volunteer some of your time as a hospice nurse. It'll at the very least give you a bit more perspective on the process of aging and all the beautiful things that has to offer. It's no wonder that the suicide rates for the elderly are so damn high. And if you were to take into account all the senior citizens that aren't physically able to take matters into their own hands, the rates would be so much higher. My own little subjective pain has mainly been caused by a crooked, fucked up spine, causing back and neck pain, along with several different muscular and skeletal imbalances throughout my body. And these imbalances have led to different muscles and ligaments relentlessly pulling at several different joints throughout my body in a sort of domino effect, causing constant tension and pain in my shoulders, my hips, my knees, etc. Also, it's caused a few injuries that I've sustained over the years, or at least contributed to the injuries, for sure. Luckily for me, through trial and error and very consistent physical therapy over time, I've been able to greatly minimize my pain. Although there's no getting rid of my pain completely and my physical imbalances will always remain, I find great relief in knowing that my little plight has helped me in recognizing how burdensome life has the potential to be, and also in seeing the importance of focusing on maintaining a state of contentment through discipline, and also recognizing the futile nature of chasing fleeting pleasure. And finally, it has helped me become more patient and compassionate with others. Pain is clearly a necessary part of life, and if the only pain to exist was constructive and relatively mild, like mine has been, then there would be a far better argument to be made in favor of bringing new people into existence. But when you look at the world around you, it's quite clear that the vast majority of the suffering to take place on this planet has not been constructive, productive, or of any real value in any meaningful, logical sense of the word. Ultimately, one of the few values of experiencing a good level of pain is that it helps us to better develop an understanding of what pain is, the level of severity that agony can reach, and for how long it can persist for. And one of the biggest problems with either a lack or the relief of pain is that we forget what it is, or we never got to know it intimately to begin with, and thus we lose our reverence for it. And the lack of due respect for the depths of physical and mental torture a person can fall to is one of the reasons why humanity at large has always been a complete fucking disaster. When my pain was at its worst, I found it difficult to concentrate when working or talking to people. I wasn't able to derive much enjoyment out of anything. One of the effective, yet overall depressing coping strategies that I utilized was the constant reminder that there are millions of people on this planet that are in a far worse state of being than I could even fathom. And this helped me to maintain a sense of gratitude for how fortunate I was to not be them, but only strengthened my pessimistic feelings in regards to humanity as a whole. The more you look at the world around you with a critical eye and see things for how they are and not for how you'd like for them to be, you have an exceedingly more difficult time justifying bringing new life into existence. Why create desire that doesn't need to be created? There is a grotesque amount of deprivation that already exists on this planet. Time and resources are far better spent in relieving the suffering that is already taking place. If you disagree, feel free to let me know why in the comments, and thank you for watching.